Next, we have Bobbie Carlton, who is the founder of Carlton PR and Marketing, as well as Innovation Nights in Massachusetts and soon spreading elsewhere, maybe even Ann Arbor, as well as the founder of Innovation Women. She is an award-winning marketing, PR, and social media professional, as well as a sought-after speaker, corporate, and startup advisor. Bobbie and the Innovation Nights community have helped launch more than 800 new products, which have collectively raised more than $1 billion in funding. Bobbie's latest venture, Innovation Women, is a new online visibility bureau for entrepreneurial, innovative, and technical women. In fact, I learned about Bobbie through an Inc. magazine article entitled Female Tech and Entrepreneur Experts Wanted: How to Get Yourself on Stage and in the Press. So with that, let's welcome Bobbie.
Usually helps if you turn on the microphone.
It's on top.
It's on top.
Yes.
All right, how we doing there? No? Anything?
Up. Better? Yes. Of course, now I have to talk into my shoulder, right? It's like, okay. All right, so number one, I have to thank you guys for having me here, sharing the stage with Glenn, who myself and my kids listen to on the radio on a regular basis, and now I have another favorite storyteller to listen to. So very excited about that. I'm here to tell you a little bit about my entrepreneurial journey, how a behind-the-scenes public relations person who's also an introvert suddenly ended up as an entrepreneur and someone who ended up owning suddenly 3 companies. I came late to entrepreneurship. I spent more than 20 years working for other people. This was not the path I ever envisioned for myself. It came completely by accident. And being true to myself, I will admit right up front, I'm an introvert. I once took one of the Myers-Briggs assessment tests. I'm like 1 point removed from J.D. Salinger. Okay? Obviously situational. I have managed to come to peace with it, and I can stand in front of an audience without completely coming apart. After college, I went to work for a market research firm where I called people up and interrupted their dinners, annoying them over the phone. I worked for something called the Deerskin Trading Post, which was a catalog. I wrote fabulous copy to introduce everyone to the joys of shearling moccasins and leather jackets, annoying people with junk mail. I joined public relations firm, where I got to call up editors and reporters and annoy them by pitching them about my clients. And then I went to work for a corporation where I'm sure I was really annoying to some boss or some coworker someplace. Basically, I realized that my career was one big string of me being a nudge. And if you don't know what a nudge is, Jewish word, go look it up, okay? I also discovered during this time period of working in public relations that I had somewhat of an affinity for things that are a little bit off, things that are a little bit different. I work well with odd. So immediately the people that employed me would set me right off on the clients that were a little bit weird. So one of my big clients was a company that made software for the correctional world, i.e. jails and prisons. So everyone in the entire agency would break down every time the intercom would come on. Bobbie, you have a call from American Jailer? Bobbie, you have a call from Jails Today? Bobbie, you have a call from American Jails? Yes, there are 3 different publications, at least in the 80s, that dealt with the Correctional Institute. There's a publication for everything. I also did some interesting activities. I saved the Royal Swans of Ottawa from being deported. They were a gift to the city of Ottawa from the Queen when she visited the city in 1967. I also got to participate in the annual Swan Roundup, okay? If you have ever seen a full-grown male swan, okay, I'm tall, and I was pregnant, okay? Just picture this, me chasing swans around Ottawa. One of the more unusual things I've had to deal with. I also, at one point, saved my company from a bit of embarrassment by persuading the local Wiccan coven not to hold a press conference in our parking lot and cast a hex on us. Okay, this is an enterprise software company, all right? We have no business dealing with Wiccans. My all-time favorite, though, I got to say these words to a reporter, "But no one was naked." That was about a holiday party that I didn't get to go to. It's like, come on, people. If I'm gonna have to be your apologist, at least let me go to the party. So after many, many years of this, one day I'm faxing my driver's license in to get a domain for my company. If you know about domains, the URLs or the company's place online. This is back when an individual had to fax in their driver's license to get a domain. I'm faxing in my driver's license. Can't believe I'm doing this. And it suddenly occurs to me, if I can do this for my company, anybody can do this. Wait a minute. What's going to happen to the media when anybody can become a publisher? Wow. Let's think about that. These are the people that I deal with all the time. Oh my God, what's going to happen to the media? What's going to happen to the reporters I deal with every day? Oh my God, what's going to happen to me? Because it's all about me. Like, everything's about me when it comes right down to it. So during that time period, I'm like, the media is going to be destroyed. Okay, this is 1995. It's taken a little bit longer. I start to expand my horizons a little bit. I used to be one of those PR is better, faster, stronger than any of the other marketing. But I'm like, all right, maybe this other marketing stuff's got something to it too. So I started doing more general marketing. And one day I went home and explained to my stay-at-home husband and our 2 small children that I was going to go work with the lady that I met in the ladies' room. We're both washing our hands. She's got a startup, all right? My stay-at-home husband and my 2 kids look at me like I'm nuts. And I'm like, yeah, really, we can survive on a startup salary and everything will be awesome. We'll be involved in this exciting entrepreneurial and innovative community. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to working for somebody else, no problem. So I joined a little company called the Beacon Street Girls. It's a book series and a website and a line of gifts and accessories for preteen girls, right? Talk about stepping outside your comfort zone. I went from bits and bytes in entrepreneurial software, product lifecycle management software, to fluffy pillows and sequin sleepover bags. So very, very different. Unfortunately, when that didn't work out in November 2008, there weren't nobody hiring anybody. I don't know if you all remember, but that particular period of time, we had a massive financial meltdown. And nobody was hiring anybody, especially marketing people. So all of a sudden, I've been surviving for 3 years on a startup salary, i.e. no savings. And I've got a non-working spouse and 2 kids. Awesome. So I'm calling up all the old clients. Hey, you need help. Let's talk about PR, even though I haven't done it in 3 years. And let's talk about marketing. And let's talk about social media marketing. All right, this is 2008. not a lot of social media marketing happening at that point. It was more of a toy still. People were thinking about it. You were just starting to see www on Coke cans and stuff. But it was getting out there, and I'm teaching myself, and I've got a little time on my hands for the first time in, oh God, 3 years. And I'm playing around with the social media marketing. I'm also spending my time doing other things, like making up to all the people that I'd neglected over the past 3 years of working 100+ hour weeks, including my responsibilities, my very serious responsibilities on the board of the Charles River Museum of Industry and Innovation. It's the birthplace of American industry. It's the first place that Americans had an integrated factory, all right? This is so obscure, I understand that you're all looking at me blankly. This museum is in Waltham, Massachusetts. It's not even in Boston. And it's set back from the road. To get to it, you have to park in the parking lot behind the movie theater and walk over a footbridge over the river and walk down a path and go around the building to find it. There's no sign. There's no indication there's a museum there. You can only find this place if you accidentally stumble upon it, or if you've gone to a bar mitzvah there. It's the bar mitzvah capital of Waltham. Picture being a 13-year-old boy. Some of you can probably remember that, right? All right, your parents give you a choice. We're going to go to a hotel and there's going to be a big party. Or we're going to go to this old mill building where there's working machinery and saws and drills, and there's a very good likelihood that you or one of your friends will come to grave bodily harm. Okay? Every 13-year-old boy in Waltham and probably half of Boston has been bar mitzvahed at this museum. This is the only reason people know it's there. So the museum used to do these things, desperately trying to drum up some foot traffic. They used to do innovation days, and they would drag out typewriters and printing presses and say, look, innovation of yesteryear. And I'm like, oh, if we want to attract any of the high-tech people in this area, just one iPhone app. Give me an app. Give me a medical device. Give me a computer. And they would say, now, you have to picture this board, all right? I'm the youngest person on the board by 30 years. I'm not that young anymore. Thank you for thinking that, but I'm not. These people looked at me like I had two heads. But they're all very kind. Say, Bobbie, if you want to do something like that, go right ahead. We're not going to stop you. Okay, so I've got an old mill building in free reign, nobody to stop me. And I've got a burgeoning social media marketing business that I really don't know what to do with yet. Still figuring it out. And I'm trying to get in with these startups and these entrepreneurs that I've really grown to love in the last 3 years, but they got no money. So I know there's not a huge amount of business there. What do? If you really hate events and you're terrified of throwing one, you throw a big event. That's what I did. So I found innovationnights.com was available. By the way, side note, in the last 6 years, I've bought more than 65 different innovation-flavored domain names. I buy domain names like most women buy shoes. I've got Innovation Nights, I've got Innovation Breakfast, I've got Innovation Coffee, I've got Innovation Lunch, I've got Innovation Potluck. I have Innovation Dinner, Innovation Diner, and my favorite, Innovation Hangover. I buy Innovation Nights. I go to one of my friends who's a website developer, and I say, please make me a website. And he's like, you're nuts, okay, fine. Here's your website. It's basically a simple WordPress blog. And I start tweeting. And I'm like, I'm going to throw a social media powered launch party. Who's in? And I'm expecting all the startups to come running, and the first company in the door is IBM. What? You kidding me? All right, whatever, it's, bring it on. And within 3 days, we had 10 other products. And 3 weeks later, we had 200 people in a room, all tweeting, all posting pictures and video online. The museum's going nuts. They haven't had 200 people in there since the last bar mitzvah. And they're like, this is pretty cool, you know? It's like people are signing up for the mailing list and they're dropping a few quarters in the little donation box. And meanwhile, the startups are loving it. My social media buddies are loving it. They've got content for their blogs. They're all meeting each other. They're having a little party. I've dropped $30 on bottled water and some name tags. Afterwards, we run across the street. Everyone buys their own drinks. I did get a few. But, you know, we're like, this is cool, this is fun. And everyone's like, see you next month. I'm like, no, one-time thing. Never happening again. Tomorrow night in Boston, in a climbing gym, is going to be our 81st never again. Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but, you know, before the first event was over, I had enough companies to do the second event. And before the second event was even done, I had enough for a third and a fourth. Right now we have 50 to 60 companies in the waiting. So they're off on the waiting list. So this has become a thing. You know, we travel around the Boston area, we're nomadic, and it's gotten to the point now where large companies like IBM, Microsoft, Autodesk, Google will actually sponsor an event and they'll have us come into their space and hold the event. And you know, it's great to have these sponsors because it means that it's not hoovering money out of my wallet like it used to. But I actually had to go and hire somebody to run innovation nights. Another helpful hint, if you have to hire someone to run your hobby, it's not a hobby. You've got an issue. And one of my big issues is, oh my God, I hate running events. You know, it's like one snowstorm and everything you've done out the door. And if anybody's been following Boston weather lately, you know, last winter, we actually got all of our events in. Yes. Record snow, all my events happened. One of the snowstorms actually happened just before our event, and the snow emergency was cleared at 5, and my event was at 6. Yes. So, all of this is going on. My agency is getting regular clients. The companies that are coming in through Innovation Nights are obviously startups, and often they're ones that are not, what I'd say, real heavy in the pocketbook. So they're not great clients for my agency, but they're wonderful referral sources. And it's not a week that goes by that I don't get somebody giving me a call going, hey, one of the Mass Innovation Nights companies told me I should talk to you. So I don't do any real business development for Carlton PR Marketing. It's all coming in through Innovation Nights. But at the same time, I'm also not getting a lot of the Innovation Nights companies when they get funding. Those companies are being referred cross-town by the venture capitalists who have relationships with the big agencies in town. So I start looking at that and saying, I need to get involved with that funding game. I need to find out what the venture capitalists are doing, and I need to make friends with them. Well, that's not me. I am not the right person, and frankly, I'm the wrong sex. So as the old boys club was kind of staring me in the face, I'm starting to pay a little more attention to that situation. And that situation is very few women up here, very few women at the front of the room, most of the women in the audience. And that's because event managers will go to an event and they'll see great speakers and they'll say, come and speak at my conference. So it's perpetuating the same voice. And if you get a really astute person who's running an event, they suddenly realize that all of the chairs are filled by men. So they run and find men, often me, because I'm a loudmouth now. Suddenly I went from introvert to loudmouth. And they'll ask me to speak, even though I don't know anything about the topic. I've been asked to speak about HTML5. I'm in marketing. I know how to spell it, that's it. But they're like, well, we don't have any women on the panel. I'm like, am I the only one you know? I'm most of these guys are in technology. I might be the only woman they know. So I started Innovation Women. We did a crowdfunding project for it last year, and I thought, oh, this would be a great thing for Boston. And we started getting people from the UK and Canada and California and Washington. Like, wow, there's more interest in this and more need for this than I ever knew. We launched the product earlier this year, and we have somewhere around 800 accounts on it right now, and they're growing every day. And the idea is to help fill these seats with a more gender-balanced group. I keep running into situations where it just makes me more and more aware of what we needed to do to fill these chairs. Around the same time that I had this revelation, I went to South by Southwest. And I decided I was going to go to see one of the panels on investing in women-owned companies because, hey, I'm one of those. So I walk in this giant room, 800 seats, in one of the big convention centers in Austin, Texas. And there's 15 people sitting right down front because it was a woman thing. Like, okay, interesting. I was going to be doing a Women Founders event for Mass Innovation Nights later on that year. So I asked the 4 panelists, 2 men, 2 women, I said, what do you suggest so I don't end up with this situation? One of the women leans over, she goes, are you Bobbie Carlton? Yes. She goes, I've had 6 companies launch with you. Thank you. Seriously though, how do I solve this problem? She's like, don't make it a woman event. Don't tell anybody. Just run it and everyone will show up. So that's what we did last year. And people figured it out pretty quickly just by running down the list of companies. And let's face it, we all talk to each other. And we had over 300 people crammed into a space that usually holds about 200. This year, we were like, all right, October is our Women Founders event. And this year, we had over 1,000 RSVPs, sadly for a space that holds 400 people. Good news is, they come, they go, the guys at the door are not counting very well. Count every 3rd one. Also, just another helpful hint, most space, if you don't talk to the fire marshals, is designed for far more people than the number on the door. The number on the door is derived by the number of exits and the number of bathrooms. And speaking of bathrooms, I went to a Masonic temple at one point for an event on women founders. And I was trying to figure out if it was insane or genius. It was a little bit of both. They actually had to convert the ladies' rooms, or the men's rooms, into a ladies' room. And the only reason I figured that out is, number 1, the sign on the door was a temporary sign. And number 2, when I walked in the door, there was a big velvet curtain on one side. It's behind the curtain. Oh, look, a row of urinals. Hey, that's right. A Masonic temple is not going to have a ladies' room. These are the things you learn when you're suddenly an entrepreneur. And I hope that all of you get to learn some of these things too. Maybe not the urinals behind the curtain. But I think that when you're thinking about your own careers, don't limit yourself like I did for the first 20 years of my career. And if you do something like that, enjoy what you're doing, even though there are times when it's just absolutely scaring the hell out of you. And so I'd like to thank you all for not scaring the hell out of me today. I'm proud to say that I'm able to stand up here and not completely collapse like I did, say the first 2 or 3 Mass Innovation Nights. So thank you.
So for your PR business, how would you compare, contrast storytelling just about yourself, kind of as an individual versus storytelling for a brand?
So it's all down to the storytelling. We have to figure out constantly for every single client, what's their story. Right now, we're struggling with one of our clients. They are two really nice guys who are entrepreneurs. They have a startup that has 500,000 customers, stunning, 500,000 customers after only a few months. But everything about them is just so nice. I'm having trouble coming up with something that is a juxtaposition or something surprising. They're just so nice you want to be their customer. There's nothing surprising about that. We get really good results when we can do something that's a little out of the ordinary, a little different, something a little surprising that catches a reporter's attention. So that's some of the stuff that we're doing right now.
If you were to kind of pick one key ingredient to a strong brand, what would it be?
It's so hard to pick one. Make me pick one. I don't want to pick just
what, maybe
one.
1 to 3?
You're a strong story. Hey.
Yeah, I'm instantly the hero. No, I think having a story that you can tell quickly, that you can get across efficiently and concisely. You know, most of the time I don't get 20 minutes to have a conversation with a reporter. I've got to get in, I got to get out. I have to have something that grabs their attention quickly. I've got one client. He's a blind entrepreneur and he's creating software for visually impaired people. Awesome. The reporters all want to talk to him. In and out.
Yeah. What is your process to figuring out that one juxtaposition or the kind of magic bullet that the reporters are going to want to go after?
A lot of listening to the clients, asking them questions. On our website, we actually have a blog post that's called The Secret Sauce, the way we get into an entrepreneur's mind and ask them all these questions. And the list is like 150 questions, and people are like, oh my God, that's not efficient. I'm like, but one of those questions is going to elicit some little nugget that I can grab onto and use.
That's a lot of questions. Or have you learned any what not to do as in the process of developing a brand?
There are lots of not to do's.
I think one of the things is not getting too fixated on the competition. I think a lot of companies will look at what else is out there and be so concerned with what everyone else is doing that they aren't focusing enough on their own brand. So let those people do what they're going to do. You do what you need to do.
And how does branding for a company startup translate to personal branding? Particularly, you know, for yourself, you have kind of Bobbie C, you know, women, you know, you have every domain. Like, how do you make sure your brands are distinctive in each channel?
Yes. So if anybody follows me on Twitter, I'm Bobbie C on Twitter. I'm Women Inno on Twitter. I'm Mass Inno on Twitter. I'm Carlton PRM on Twitter. Sometimes these brands actually will fight. Mass Inno is a relentless cheerleader. Mass Inno loves everybody. Bobbie C is a little bit more cynical, okay? You know, it's like not believing everything she's told. It's a little bit more like me. And sometimes these two brands butt heads. We've got voices for each one of them. Women Inno is not quite the cheerleader that Mass Innovation Nights is, more focused on the gender balance issues. So, you know, we've got these voices and we can hear them. I can hear them in my head. I can probably have different expressions and different motions when I am that person. So just having the right voice, I think, is really important for your brand.
And for someone just starting to figure out their online brand, what are some, you know, key tips that you would offer?
I'm going to jump off the word key tips and say keywords. We live in such a Googleable world, all right? If you think about the last time you bought anything, whether it was an idea or an actual product, you probably Googled it, right? You probably went searching. You know, if you're not into Google, that's fine, Bing or whatever. But you went searching, and the things that came up first on the list are the places you probably went. You are most likely to go after one of those top 3 links.
So if your brand is not search engine optimized and friendly to the search engines, you're never going to appear on anybody's radar screen. So think about what your brand is and how you can keyword it. The example that I'll often use is the woman who literally wrote the book on Twitter, Laura Fenton. Her Twitter handle is pistachio. She will often come up above the Pistachio Association of America when you search. She's got that brand nail. Now, if you're searching actually for nuts, not gonna say anything, but Laura, I love you if you ever see this. You know, it's not quite, you know, what you're searching for, but boy, you get to know Laura very well if you like pistachio nuts. So just think about what your brand is and all of the social media stuff that points to your brand and your name. So my teenage son is Nerd with the Hat. He has Nerd with the Hat on every single social media platform. He's got the domain, he's got all of these things all lined up for someday when he's Nerd with the Hat and it makes a difference to him getting a job somewhere. Please, when he gets a job somewhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your stories. This is great.